This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Today is Wednesday, May the 17th, 2023. We're glad you could join us. Coming up in today's program, I heard from Senator Debbie Stabenow, chair of the Senate Ag Committee, as she addressed NAFB broadcasters at Washington Watch on the Capitol Hill grounds. And we heard about her perspectives on how the Farm Bill negotiations are going. We also take a look at that ag weather outlook, but first, we kick things off with a check of the markets. It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. Well, we're at the end of another trading day, and it's time to talk with Tyler Schau of agmarket.net. Tyler, I know to start the day, grains were taking a little bit on the chin. Did that continue throughout the close today?
Yeah, it's another rough day in the grain markets. At one point, soybeans actually were positive on the day, kind of early mid-morning, and then everything kind of reversed. We did get a couple confirmations that the grain deal did get extended for another 60 days, both through Turkey and President Erdogan, and also from Russia. They also said that they did agree to an extension of another 60 days. So it's kind of like that old Bill Murray movie, Groundhog's Day, where it seems like every 60 days we talk about, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And the day before, sure enough, they find a way to keep the corridor open, and the market sold off when it got confirmation.
Yeah, in that corridor, we were wondering if they were going to kick the can down the road for another 2 months. They did. And speaking of kicking the can down the road, debt ceiling, we're still waiting to see what those negotiations are going to pan out to be. And I'm sure the markets are hesitant on what could happen there.
Yeah, they are. I did just pop over to look at the financial markets, and your Dow index is up about 400 points. So I've not heard any news on any debt ceiling information yet, but maybe we're getting some headway there.
All right, and you talked about the cancellations. We got those announcements. China, we got all that head of steam going. About a month or so ago, when they were buying up all these corn contracts and now turning around canceling them. Is it straight cancellations, or how much are being deferred till new crop?
I don't think they're probably being deferred to new crop. So they do have to pay, when they lock in sales, or when they buy corn from us and as an export sale gets reported, they do have to put down some earnest money. There is a penalty they pay when they cancel. Most likely what they're doing, though, is now that Brazilian corn or South American corn is so cheap, they can take the loss on the American corn and change the location. So they're probably going through the same merchandiser. They're probably buying it through one of the ABCDs, and they're just, the origin is coming out of South America rather than the U.S. So they're going to pay a penalty for canceling on the U.S., but the difference in what they can buy that product for out of South America is so much cheaper right now that it's an arbitrage opportunity, and we'd all do it if it was us in their shoes, most likely as well. So I doubt they're rolling them to new crop. I think overall what you've got going on, when I've been describing it to a lot of producers today, wondering why this thing just keeps dropping, is, if you put on your farmer hat for a second, when the price goes really high, farmers get very reluctant to sell because they think it's going to get higher the next day. And the reverse happens when the prices start falling. Buyers are basically sitting there with their hands in their pockets. The end user is kind of just waiting to see how cheap can I get this stuff bought. I would guess at some point we'll find a bottom and we'll start pushing a little bit higher. And then you'll see those end users scramble to get some coverage on at these low prices, which in turn will bump prices back up. Probably not to the levels that producers would like to see, but they'll give you another opportunity to get some decent sales on.
Now, one thing I know the markets have been watching, and we can finally get to hear maybe from you here, because we talk about planning intentions, and we've been hearing the stories about North Dakota and how things are looking. I mean, what is it up there? I mean, you're up in that neck of the woods. What are you guys seeing?
They've been rolling. We had snow. It took a long time for it to melt. The soil temperatures were cool. There are going to be increased prevented plant acres over last year. I can promise you that. The amount, in some cases maybe gets a little bit overblown. I think guys will go ahead and plant. I've got some guys in eastern North Dakota didn't turn a wheel last year until today, a year ago today, the 17th. And they had some awfully good corn crops and soybean crops and wheat crops last year. So they got a late start. I've been trying to remind everybody that we can get a late start with genetics and equipment these days. We can get the stuff in the ground and get a crop. There will be increased prevented plant acres. I can promise you that. I don't think it's, in the millions of acres that we're looking at, and we'll get a crop in the ground. So it is a concern, but I don't know that it's one that I would be hanging my hat on to see $7 corn.
All right, and switching over to the livestock side of things, last couple of days, hogs had some strength, cattle were kind of mixed. Did that trend continue today, or what did we see?
We saw cattle down. Your upfront fat cattle contracts actually did trade fairly strong, or closed out today fairly strong, with your June up almost $1, up to 164.82. Hogs have been taking it on the chin today. The pork cutout from the USDA yesterday was down a couple bucks. Hogs have just really struggled today getting any traction. So, a couple times now we've made runs up to that $87, $88 range in hogs. It feels like we got some upside momentum, and the cash hogs are still about $10 below where the June futures are. So either cash has really got to rally and it's not, or the futures have got to come down to it. And that seems to be if you had to pick one side, I would expect futures to keep dropping lower. Might not go a ton lower. I just think it's going to be tough to push it a lot higher and have cash come up that much.
All right. Well, thanks for the insight as always, Tyler. If folks want to pick your guys' brains over there at agmarket.net, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Check us out on the website, agmarket.net, or call me direct, 701-987-6009.
All right, Tyler, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
You bet. Take care, Dustin.
That again was Tyler Schau of agmarket.net. Let's run down the closing numbers. Those come to us courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. July corn was down 19 3/4 at 561.5. December new crop down 6 1/4 at 499. July soybeans down 27 cents at 13.37 even. November new crop down 19.5 at 11.87.5. Soy meal was down $2.80 at 416.80. Soy oil down 92 cents at 46.55. Chicago wheat down 22.5 at 637 3/4. Minneapolis down 20 3/4 at 859 3/4. Kansas wheat was down 11 1/4 at 873 1/4. September oats down 2 1/4 at 345 3/4. June live cattle up 95 cents at 164.82. August feeders down 32 cents at 231.15. June lean hogs down $2.32 at 84.87. Pork cutouts for June down $1.90 at 88.80, and Class 3 milk for May was down a penny at 16.21. That was a check of our closing market recap. Let's go ahead and take a quick break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, we hear from Senator Debbie Stabenow, Chair of the Senate Ag Committee. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to AMPM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Last week, I brought you comments from House Ag Committee Chairman Glenn G.T. Thompson of Pennsylvania. And today we're going to hear from his counterpart in the Senate Ag Committee, Chairwoman Senator Debbie Stabenow of Michigan. She talked a little bit at first about how she sees things going with the current negotiations of the 23 Farm Bill.
Sit right here.
Oh, yes,
So,
please.
all right. Well, good morning. It's great to be with you. And I've actually, I think, been involved in six farm bills over. I started when I was 5 years old. Yeah, so And but this is the third one that I have been leading, both as chair and for the 2014 Farm Bill, and then for the 2018 Farm Bill, partnering with Senator Roberts. And I'm so pleased to have Senator Bozeman as my partner in the Senate. I know you've heard from him already this year. We did what we've always done, which is kick off the Farm Bill process by doing a field hearing, the first hearing on the Farm Bill in Michigan, and then we went to Arkansas for the second one, and then now are completing, I think by the end of next week, we'll have completed all of our stakeholder hearings where we ask people to give us input on what's working, what's not working, what do we need to be focused on for the next time around. So I'm very pleased that we're moving as we are, and I think you're going to hear from Chairman G.T. Thompson as well. He and I are working well together, as well as with the ranking member David Scott, so that we can really put together a Farm Bill. The challenge for us, among many challenges, there are always challenges on the Farm Bill, but we were counting up that there are in the House and Senate, mostly House, we have 240 people who have never voted on a Farm Bill, who have been here less than the 5 years. And so there's a lot of education that needs to happen in terms of what it means. We have 12 titles, meaning 12 pieces of this, each of which could be a big standalone bill by itself, from our commodities title and crop insurance to nutrition to energy to rural development to forestry. So there is a lot there. There's a lot there, and it's so very important. I know in my state, I'm very proud of the fact that we have more diversity of crops than any state but California, and as I always joke in Michigan, who cares about California? So. And we have more water, so come on over. But so we're just process-wise. I think I'd love to open it up to questions. Let me just say that we are, anticipating the next few months. We've asked for input in a very broad way in the Senate from every member on the committee, off the committee, to give us their priorities. We've now got those in hand, and we are, at this point, moving through that and hoping between now and summer to have something put together.
Of course, then she was asked about what the CBO numbers could look like, especially for farm safety net programs, and also what her non-negotiables are when it comes to the Farm Bill.
Well, the CBO is extremely important. There's actually two things very important to us on that side. What the CBO gives us as a baseline, and this time, because there's the good news is we have additional money in conservation that our farmers have been wanting for a long, long time. So we don't need to try to find dollars within the Farm Bill to do that. So this is very important. So, for instance, EQIP, the Environmental Quality Program, has been oversubscribed by 3 times. 3 times more farmers have wanted to participate, haven't been able to. Now, with the additional money that we added last year, we're going to be able to do the sustainable conservation folks want, as well as forestry, as well as rural development, biofuels. We have $500 million new in biofuels infrastructure that's really important, and so those things we have, which is the good news. In the rest, in terms of commodities, crop insurance, other areas, it's pretty much flat funding. And the challenge for us has been, because of the trade challenges, because of COVID, because of a number of things the last few years, we've put almost $90 billion in ad hoc funding through appropriations into supporting agriculture. And we also have there's been, in the last year, to cover 2022 levels, we have about $18 billion in crop insurance indemnities for 2022. And so we want, in my mind, we need to make sure we strengthen crop insurance. We've got to address making sure, even though prices are up now, prices are good, input costs are up, so we have to deal with all of that. But how do we support those commodities that need us to be able to do something different. It's not true for all of them. We have many of our commodities where prices are up. They're more interested in trade markets. They're using crop insurance, and it's working pretty well for them, but there are others where it's not. And that's where we have to get into all of the discussions. There's always this debate about nutrition. And, we have a farmer safety net and a family safety net. We're not breaking those up. And nor should we, nor do our major agricultural groups want us to do that as well. And there's been a misplaced debate that you can all help me with right now, which is not understanding that there are work requirements for SNAP. There are work requirements for SNAP. There have been actually original work requirements started in 1977. They were strengthened under President Clinton's welfare reform in 1996. And if you are able-bodied, able to work, unless you are disabled, a senior family with small children under age 6, you're working. You're probably working right now part-time. And the requirement's 30 hours a week. And if not, let me back up and saying, that is the law that was suspended under COVID. This is where I need your help. The work requirements come back on in July. So this is important. People talk about we should have work requirements. I go, great, yeah, absolutely. We have work requirements. They were just suspended during COVID, like the other areas. They come back on in July, and starting then, if you are able-bodied without dependents, able to work, and you do not, you can receive 3 months of SNAP during a 3-year period. Only 3 months of SNAP during a 3-year period. That is the current law. Now, in the last bill, we did strengthen some efforts around employment and training, which I think is something that would be good for us to do. But we have work requirements, and the average, the person right now getting some help, most of the time is temporary for folks. Unless you're a senior or somebody with disabilities, it may be more long-term, but most people it's temporary. But it's $6.10 a day for a person, which is about what I spent for a cup of coffee. So $6.10 a day. So when we get into these areas, I spend a lot of time just trying to talk about what's real. And the leadership in the House and the Senate understands that on the committee.
Stabenow was also asked about some ideas that have been floated about moving money from the SNAP programs to other titles to help save money instead of adding money to the Farm Bill.
Well, first of all, we never take money from nutrition and put it somewhere else. We don't take money from commodities and put it someplace else. Each title is its own title. That is what traditionally has happened, and so in nutrition, it is, and again, $6.10 a day. So if there are those that think that's too much, then they can suggest that, talk about that. But that's the reality for folks. And most people are working. If you're able-bodied, able to work, and not working, there's strict time limits in terms of things. So what we have the challenge to do, which we always do, is how do we fine-tune what we're doing and try to create ways to create resources, and this is always a challenge for us. I will say the other thing that keeps me up right now is this whole debate about whether or not our country is going to default, because that is very real. We lived through this. When I first took over chairing the committee in 2011, there was this major debate just like this about extreme cross the board cuts, otherwise we're going to default or whatever. And there was actually something put in place that we're still living with in agriculture. 10 years later, there's a 5.7% cut in the commodity titles and other programs still existing from what was called sequestration that was passed in 2011. And so when people talk about the speaker talked about going back to 2022 levels. Now, I don't know what that means for our disaster assistance, for the money that we put last year in for agriculture, for what's been happening in disaster. I don't know what that means for agriculture disaster assistance. If they are talking about cross-the-board cuts, it will make it very difficult to write a farm bill. So there are those who politically just want to talk about it as only nutrition. Mandatory spending is all the Farm Bill programs. And we were impacted by sequestration in 2011. And if, for the folks moving down that road again, they will make it even more difficult for us to write a bill. Well, the debate should be in the Farm Bill, and I would love it if they started with understanding that we already have strict work requirements. So, but happy to have that debate based on the facts, and it should be within the Farm Bill. The debate about whether or not our country defaults, which, by the way, will be just a gut punch to the economy. It will raise interest rates for all of our growers, for everybody. It will be, for the first time in our country, that we would be saying to the world, you can't count on the full faith and credit of the United States government. So it's incredibly serious. Any debate, and I welcome debates on spending, on tax policy, I think those are important things to do. I'm glad that in the first 2 years of the Biden administration, we've been able to reduce the deficit by $1.7 trillion. We can do more. I will also step back and say it is difficult, as I look at all the debate right now, to look at some who are expressing great concern about the deficit when we know that of all the debt in the history of the country, since we started counting debt, 25% of it was accumulated during the 4 years of President Trump. 25%. We raised the debt ceiling, so we didn't default. Came up 3 times, raised the debt ceiling then. Democrats fully did that because it was the right thing to do, even though there was great concern about the structure of the tax, $2 trillion in tax cuts that were given at the time. But that was not the place to argue that. It's not the place to argue it now, whether the question of defaulting or not defaulting is about the country paying its bills. And so we need to pay our bills. And then the president put forward his budget. I think Republican colleagues have every right to put forward their budget, and if it's dramatically different, that's okay. That's the democratic process. That's how we operate in this country. That should happen during appropriations, and if we don't agree there, then you don't get a budget. I mean, that is how it should be done, not on the question of our country defaulting.
And lastly, she talked about the worker shortage that the ag industry is facing and where she sees a path forward in both sides of the aisle in both chambers of the Congress.
We should also note that there's a huge issue around lack of employees. I mean, for farm labor, no question. Small businesses, no question. And that goes, and one of the challenges right now is that unemployment is the lowest it's been in a generation, about 3.5%. And so we have fewer people in the workplace, which is a challenge, and the work has changed and everything that came out of COVID. But the other thing is we need comprehensive immigration reform because our farmers need a legal system where they can be employing migrant labor, which is a big part of this as well right now. And it would be such a shot in the arm economically if we actually had real comprehensive immigration reform, and our farmers are absolutely desperate for it. Well, the House passed a bipartisan bill last year. I did everything humanly possible to try to get our farm groups on board for a version of that addressed some of their concerns that Senator Michael Bennet put forward. originally had bipartisan support, and then none of our Republican colleagues in the Senate would step forward and help to lead it. We tried it right up until the omnibus at the end of the year to get it going. Kept saying this is the moment. A bipartisan bill passed the House. You have a president that will sign it. This is the moment. And unfortunately, there's been so much misinformation, sort of poisoning around the issue on immigration that rather than separating, debates on border security versus employment, they get pulled together, and we couldn't get the Republican support that we needed.
That again was Senate Ag Committee Chairwoman Debbie Stabenow of Michigan. Let's go ahead and take a look at that ag weather outlook. Well, sunny skies started our day off again here in Des Moines, and still looking pretty decent, almost a cookie cutter of yesterday. A few more clouds, though, than what we saw the day before. And some rain showers may be working their way into our forecast as early as this evening, maybe even just a few this afternoon, but again, hanging on until tomorrow morning. Let's see what the National Weather Service says for the next 24 hours. Well, the sunny skies greeted us again this morning, and did see a few extra clouds, but again, mostly a cookie cutter of yesterday, at least here in central Iowa. We saw sunny skies and warm temps. Temps were anywhere from the low 70s to the low 80s. Now tonight, we'll see some clouds move in across the state, and we'll see temperatures anywhere from the upper 40s to the upper 50s. And coming up tomorrow, it'll be mostly sunny to start the day, except for in the extreme northwestern part of the state where they'll start to see showers, but those rain chances are going to increase, and we'll see temperatures anywhere from the mid 70s to the low 80s. Taking a look at the affiliate weather map for you for tomorrow, as we said, rain starting off the day in the northwest. Cherokee will see showers and storms in 74. Shenandoah will start out mostly sunny and an increased chance of showers and storms in 83. Des Moines, the same story, starting out sunny, increasing chance of showers and storms in 83. Waterloo will start out the day sunny as well and an increase of showers in 81. Albion will remain mostly sunny in 82, and Clinton will remain mostly sunny and 80 degrees. For more detailed forecasts in your area, tune to your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been our Ag Weather Outlook. And with that, we're at the end of today's show. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com. Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and on our YouTube channel. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're notified when all of our video products come out. You can also check out our free Twice Daily Market podcasts. You can get them delivered free through Amazon, Google, Spotify, Apple, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Riley Smith and Mark Magnuson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.